Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And wow, I gotta talk about this because I didn't know this was coming up. So we got some news on the eve of WrestleMania Night 2 that Tony Khan has decided that he is going to release the footage. He is going to release, supposedly, the footage of the backstage altercation between CM Punk and Jack Perry, because as we had noted a long time ago, when this whole incident first happened, that supposedly there was film, supposedly there was a recording of the backstage altercation, that there was film, that it was filmed or whatever, because they have a lot of cameras at Wembley Stadium or whatever. So apparently, this was caught on tape. Okay. And so, because CM Punk decided to do his first interview in more than like 2 years of speaking on his time with AEW and how Tony Khan is not a boss and all this other stuff, because of that, Tony Khan has decided, you know what, on Dynamite, we're going to release the footage. And, oh, by the way, it's going to be the unprofessional elite that are going to be releasing this film, by the way, which just adds more insult to injury. So, my question here is, besides a lot of obviously dumb questions that just boggles my mind on why Tony Khan is this stupid to actually be doing this to begin with. So here's the first thing. Tony, why didn't you decide to release the footage after the first altercation had happened? Huh? Because, according to you, you feared for your life. You said it was the worst thing that ever happened to you. I've never experienced this at a wrestling event before. I can't believe it. By the way, I'm not exaggerating. That's pretty much how he talked when this first happened. So Tony Khan said that he feared for his life. Now, first and foremost, before we get into the whole, did Jack Perry get punched or did he get choked by Punk? Punk said he choked him a little, didn't actually punch him. But considering the fact that Jack Perry is a little spoiled brat that doesn't listen to authority figures, because this whole fucking thing happened because Jack Perry wouldn't listen to the fucking Warner Brothers executive that told him no. Fucking Tony Schiavone fucking told him no. The TV producers of fucking AEW told him fucking no. They all fucking told him no, but yet, God damn it, they said, hey, CM Punk, can you tell him no? And so he does, and that's why Jack Perry is pissed at Punk. This all happened because Jack Perry is an unprofessional piece of shit that can't accept what bosses are telling him that he can't do. And so they rely on Punk, because Punk is the guy who's going to frickin' tell him like it is, and is not going to be nice about it like all these other people were. Okay? Because that's how this whole thing started. Okay? That's how this whole thing started. Alright? The guy, Jack Perry, to me, and I don't like saying this. Okay? But based on everything I've heard from a bunch of people, and I've heard a lot about Jack Perry. Based on everything I've heard about Jack Perry, I would not want him on my roster. The dude is an immature, unprofessional asshole that doesn't deserve the spot that he's in. Okay? Which isn't saying that much since he's not really doing that much anything anytime right now. But point being is Jack Perry is an unprofessional little prick. And why do I say that? Because that's how he was brought up. Yes, he wasn't a wrestler, or like he wasn't his parents weren't wrestlers, or, you know, he wasn't a third-generation superstar like Orton or something like that. But his father was a former A-list Hollywood actor, okay? So this guy has gotten preferential treatment his entire life because he's got connections with Hollywood, okay? Because his father was a, you know, big-shot actor, okay? And because of this, he thinks he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. And that's why everything that I've heard about the guy, okay, even before the CM Punk stuff, you know, he just comes off as a douche. He just comes off as someone that just like, if I don't get it my way, I'm going to just flip out, basically. You know, he comes off as some guy like that, okay? You know, when a boss tells him no and he's just like, I don't want to do that. I remember a promo he did about a year ago. I think it was actually over a year ago, where he just said that I really don't want to talk on the mic, you know, and I hate doing that. I hate cutting promos. And I'm like, motherfucker, dude, that is one of the most important keys of professional wrestling, is to be able to talk on the mic and make fans buy into you and your character. Like, these are things that he has said, okay? So, in other interviews in the past. So, this is the whole thing with Jack Perry. So, now let's get into the whole thing that happened at Wembley Stadium, All Out, okay? So, as we all know, there was this whole incident that happened. Y'all freaking probably remember it. It was on if you watched the pre-show, Jack Perry basically said, Rio Glass, cry me a river during the car spot or whatever with Hook, right? Punk was pissed. According to Punk, he asked Tony Khan to handle it. Tony Khan, being the great boss that he is, wink, says, what do you want me to do about it? And so Punk said, if you don't handle it, I'm going to handle it. And that's how Punk handled it. You know, there's only so many things people could take. And people are like, oh, he went violent and something. This is the line of the problem. Tony Khan is not a boss, okay? He chooses not to be a boss. He doesn't want to get confrontational with his wrestlers. And because of this is why Punk is not there anymore, okay? Punk needs a boss to actually do things that bosses in wrestling promotions do. Again, say what you want to say about Vince McMahon of been not being the greatest when it comes to developing talent, you know, these days. You know, in his last, you know, decade, years of, you know, being head of creative. But the one thing you could say about Vince McMahon is, if any of this stuff was, I would tell you right now, Jack Perry under Vince McMahon would have been fired within 3 months, maybe less. Okay, there's no way Jack Perry would have survived Vince McMahon. There's no way he would have. There were either two things that would have happened. Either he would have been fired for being the prick that he was, or two, he would have actually tried to pretend that he wasn't a douchebag with Vince, because he knows he would not be able to do that shit. That shit would not fly with Vince McMahon. Okay. Wouldn't even fly with Triple H, because Triple H wouldn't put up with that shit either. But and that's the thing. Punk won't put up with that because he's an old school mentality wrestler, just like Triple H. Like, they are not going to put up with that shit. And Jack Perry should have gotten fired. Now, supposedly Jack Perry has not been fired by AEW, but he's currently working with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's not come back to AEW or whatever since the altercation with Punk last year. Um, but they have a working relationship with New Japan, and so he's just been working with New Japan, even though he's under contract with AEW. Well, yeah, AEW has a working relationship with them, so their talent can work with New Japan as long as it's not a day that they're booked for AEW. But obviously, Jack Perry hasn't been booked at all, so that's why he has more time to work New Japan. But point being is this footage, okay? This goddamn footage, okay? I'll say this right now. Because, again, why is Tony Khan releasing the footage now? Oh, because Punk decided to make an interview. Tony Khan, you had plenty of time to release this footage to show you were telling the truth. And you didn't. And now you're doing it because you're... So I could see this right now, that Tony Khan saw that CM Punk interview and his head fucking, puffed up like a pimple when he saw the stuff that he was saying about him. Because he knew it was true. And so he's like, I got to show this damn footage. Nobody wants to see this footage. And it's not because I'm saying this because, CM Punk might potentially get violent or anything like that, in it, because, maybe it was. I mean, the footage is the footage. But nobody wants to see that footage. Not because they don't want to see it, but because people rather see it as an urban legend. Just like, the stories about Goldberg getting beat up by Jericho backstage, the stories of Booker T beating the shit out of Batista backstage, because these stuff happen. These altercations happen, not on TV. Backstage, unrelated storyline stuff. Okay? And they're just urban legends that people talk about through the years. This is not something that people want to see. AEW is going to make themselves look totally bad with this, no matter what happens. No matter if this is a complete troll job, like they don't actually show the real footage, but they show like a fake, footage of like CM Punk with like a fake actor CM Punk, like a fake CM Punk. Actor like they did with Gilbert or whatever, the alter ego of Goldberg for WWE, right? When they were competing with WCW. If they're doing shit like that, then, it's whatever. It's not going to really help the ratings because everybody knows Punk's in WWE. If they actually show the footage, but they alter it, they can actually get sued for that. And it might actually lead to the NDA being open from the All Out media scrum possibility of Punk talking about that because that's malice of defamation right there, apparently. So they can't really show altered footage of the real footage. And then also the possibility is the real footage. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, but that's what I've heard. I just want to also claim that I'm not a lawyer, so someone would have to kind of clarify on that. But that's just what I've heard from some people, is that that could be potential litigation right there. And then the other possibility is them actually showing the raw footage and we actually see it. But again, CM Punk actually punching Jack Perry because, Tony Khan's not being a boss or whatever. That doesn't help AEW. Okay? Even if Punk did punch Jack Perry, let's say Punk did punch Jack Perry, what does that change? It's not gonna get him kicked out of WWE because the supposed behavioral clause in his contract doesn't apply to the stuff that he did in AEW. And do you really think Triple H didn't know about what happened in the altercation? You don't think he got communicated from wrestlers that work down there in AEW to what actually happened? Because I guarantee you Triple H did. Triple H is a former wrestler. He knows how to he knows how to speak to talent. He knows how to get around it with some of the other wrestlers, that are working for WWE, that are friends with some of the AEW wrestlers. He knows how to get that stuff communicated with them. So, But let's say hypothetically he did punch Jack Perry. What does that change? It makes Jack Perry and Tony look bad because Tony Khan, here's the thing, Tony Khan doesn't have to prove to me that Punk punched or choked out Jack Perry. What he needs to convince me is that he feared for his life. That's the thing he needs to convince his fans, because he claimed that he feared for his life. That was a direct quote from him, that he feared for his safety. Okay? He needs to goddamn show that he actually feared for his life. Because I don't fucking believe him, and hardly anybody does, except for AEW fanboys that are just biased and just buy everything that he blindly says at this point. That's the stuff that they need. That's the thing that Tony should be really proving people. But I don't believe Punk did punch Jack Perry. I believe he choked him. There was consistent statements from what people are saying that the altercation was because Jack Perry was being a prick and, egging Punk on and, obviously egged him on at the fucking match or whatever there, right after that match had ended, on national television, so, that's the thing, Tony. But again, the AEW is not going to get a spike in ratings for this. This is just stupid. This is dumb on AEW's part to release this footage. But whatever, we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, it has to be at the Elite's expense because you know that you have to stick with these guys that fucking don't know how to actually be EVPs and shouldn't be EVPs at this point. But yeah, guys, that's it. Comment, rate. Like to please subscribe, hit the notification bell for all latest contents. Thank you. And that's what I am the Ultimate Goku Moderator. Peace. # Team Punk.